Good evening, everybody. It's the season premiere of the 2011 edition of the Coach Ingram Show. I'm Roger Cunningham. Coach, glad to have you with us tonight.
As always, Roger, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, he's the star of the show, Coach Alan Ingram, head coach of the Seminole County Indian football team. And Coach, before we talk about the game, you mentioned something just before we started taping, and the other fellow that was normally with us here every year, Todd Hooper, is not with us this year. Todd was a great asset to Seminole County High School. He never asked for anything. All he wanted to do was contribute. He loved Seminole County High School. He loved the athletics, not just football, but he loved basketball, the baseball, girls softball. He liked them all. And just give for a few minutes, reflect a little bit about Todd.
Well, like I said, Todd never asked for anything at all. All he wanted to do was give. He cared about the program. He cared about kids. He wanted to see young folks, develop into young men, with some character and discipline in their lives. And he felt like football was one of the ways that, that could be accomplished. And so he was around all the time. He never criticized anything. He was, no matter what happened, if we were beat bad and poor performance or whatever, it was always my fault, never the kid's fault. No, he was a trip, but he was just a great asset for us. He did a lot of things, set up that web page for us, and all that. Your color commentator, and very supportive all the time, and we definitely gonna miss Todd.
Yeah, there wasn't a time when we were doing a football game or a basketball game together, whatever, I couldn't ask and say, how many yards rushing did so-and-so have, or how many, what's this, what's that, and he, just like that, he had it. I mean,
absolutely.
And which was something that I kind of missed this past Friday night. It was difficult. But anyway, just to let everybody know that WMGR is dedicating each Seminole County game that we cover to Todd and the season, and these Coach Ingram shows we dedicate to Todd throughout the year, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's fine. And our team, last Friday night decided to dedicate the season to Todd also. So we're gonna miss it.
Yeah, we are. Good deal. And but if I know Todd the way I know Todd, he wants us to go on.
Oh, absolutely.
And he'd say, don't look back. He'd say, go out there and win that championship.
That's right.
Well, Coach, last year we went up to Wesleyan and that beautiful campus that they have up there, pretty much a college campus atmosphere they have up there. Everybody knows how I feel about allowing private schools to play in the GHSA. I'm totally against it. I know you have your own opinion about it. When you're a private school and you play in the GHSA, the rules just aren't quite the same for them as it is for the public school. I mean, you can't go out and recruit players. You'd love to be able to go out there and say, hey, Mr. Big Wide Receiver or Mr. Big Running Back, why don't you come on over here and play for Seminole County High School? Well, for that kid to be able to do that, Mom and Daddy would have to move to Seminole County. And then he would have to enroll and be eligible and be enrolled by a certain time and all that kind of thing. Whereas with the private school, they lose a wide receiver and they see some wide receiver over a couple of counties over, they'll go over there and say, hey, we'll give you free education. Come on over here and play football. I mean, I just don't think the parameters are the same.
Yeah, I've spent the weekend in Atlanta. Just got back this afternoon in time to start practice at Georgia High School. The executive committee met today, committee of 48 with the reclassification. We've been working on reclassification next year. And I am the region representative, for the executive committee, and a member on that thing, and so we met. They met Saturday afternoon. I went up yesterday and then came back today. But we made some hopefully headway in that direction. Had voted earlier back in May for 6 classifications, and today they went in, had a vote, rescinded that 6 classification deal, went into executive session or reclassification. The executive committee had a 20-minute recess, and so reclassification committee went into a meeting for 20 minutes and came back and suggested that we do the 6 classification again, but we had to rescind the first one because there was going to be some amendments to it or some changes in it. One being that They would play a little bit with the percentage for 2A, 3, 4, 5, and 6A, leaving 1A either with a hard number or 22%. And then, or they would go with the ad hoc committee, which is a private school, public school members that got together with some administrators and all that stuff, and they worked out a deal that the public schools and private schools both felt like they could live within Class A. You know, Class A is a little bit different than the other classifications because they just don't have that private school problem right now.
Well, I mean, they, you know, obviously your higher classification like 3A, 4A, and 5A, you've got more of the numbers in the public school.
That's right.
Whereas with the 1A and 2A, you know, 1A school, like Seminole County, what do we have here? 280, 300 students here at this school?
409 through 12, but it's all based on 9, 10, 11.
Right.
So we're in the 300, 290, 320 categories.
And when you only have that many students and, you know, half of them might be girls,
yeah.
you know, whatever. I mean, you play football, you've only got so many guys to pick from.
Yeah, and I've said, you know, Seminole County is a little bit different. We have so many people on Lake Seminole, and we have a lot of grandparents down there who bought and retired, you know, from up north, and their grandchildren come down and live with them. You know, homes are so broken nowadays, so a lot of grandkids are down there. Those old folks don't care if their grandkids play football, baseball, softball, or anything, and so it's 20 miles to lake, therefore they don't, you know, they just don't care if they play. Most of it, and we talk about all sports, 90% of our kids or 95% of our kids come from US 84, probably a mile north and south of US 84, which means Donaldsonville or Iron City. You get below this school here, there's half of the student body, but zero athletes, you know, or just very few athletes.
Right.
So our numbers to choose from are not nearly as high as they would seem to be.
So I was going to ask you about this at some point in time in the show. So what was the conclusion after your meetings today? What do you think is going to happen?
Two things are going to happen. 2, 3, 4. I went up last night. They had a little short meeting. I went up and they asked me what I thought about it since I was a Class A guy, and I said, well, you know, we voted in the 6th classification. Let's stay with the 6th classification. Someone was arguing about, you mean there's going to be 7 state champions? Well, I said, what happens in Class A doesn't affect the rest of you guys. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is not going to be affected at all. What happens in Class A doesn't affect y'all. You shouldn't be concerned with it. Because Class A has, there's some special things in there. It's a little bit different. You know, with the public-private, you guys in 2A do not have that problem. But it may change in the next 2 or 3 years. And this is the reclassification is for every, you know, for 2-year period of time. So as that changes, then we will address 2A, 3A, or whatever happens. But, you know, the ad hoc recommendation is that private schools count they have a service area like the rest of us. This hadn't happened before. Good example, Westland is in Gwinnett County.
Right.
There's 2 other schools in Gwinnett County. There's 850,000 people in Gwinnett County.
Right.
Okay, you divided those 3 schools, 850,000 by the 3 schools, then Wesleyan's, you know, service area is roughly, what's that, 250,000 students, close to a little bit, yeah, not quite well, it's a little bit over 250.
Yeah.
It's almost 280,000
right, yeah, about
students.
280, right, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around 280,000 students. Well, our service area is, what, 5,000? You know, count the whole county, because our service area, we got boundaries. That's Seminole County. But, you know, and they're choosing. Well, the thing about Westland is they can decide, we're going to have 300 students 9 through 12 or 400, whatever. That's $31,000 a year, you know, tuition to that school. Plus, they're getting those gold funds that we discussed before.
Sure.
But they're also may have 800 applicants for 300 positions.
Sure.
And so you can bet that those 800 applicants, one are going to be intelligent kids. They're not going to be any handicapped kids or special education kids because they won't have that program. But those kids are also going to be, they're going to fill needs. They're going to be good athletes or whatever.
Sure. Coaches look at those resumes too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I can't blame those coaches. You can't blame the school or whatever. Georgia High School's allowed it to happen. You know, we have a constitution and bylaws, and there's absolutely no recruiting. they contend that they don't recruit the private schools do. The whole idea of private schools is that they're going to have to recruit. They have to recruit students, and therefore they recruit athletes at the same time.
So,
Now,
how do you stop it?
you have to move them up into other classifications.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So you're saying there's going to be 2 divisions in Class A ball? Is that what the deal's going
Wind
to be?
You'll wind up with 2 tiers in Class A. That would move them either up to upper tier or either into double A. It'll be a 50% upper tier, 50% lower tier. What would happen in a regular season is what we're hoping is that you would have 8 regions. 4 of them in North Georgia, 4 in South Georgia. The way they had it drawn up before also gave North Georgia more playoff teams than South Georgia. They have North Georgia's a weird thing in that thing. Fulton County schools, the inner city schools of Atlanta's 17. There's 17 of them. So there's a 17-0 vote right there. When you start voting on this committee of 48, 24 of them are really from North Georgia. 24 is supposed to be from South Georgia. You better have your numbers together. You better be together in South Georgia because you're behind 17-0 to start with.
Right, sure.
You start voting, and they'll try to get the other 2 guys from the executive board, make full committee of 50. The last vote on the 6th classification was 26 to 24. Fitzgerald voted with them, and it was a north-south block vote entire. Fitzgerald crossed over simply because it put Buford, they weren't looking at the whole picture, but put Buford out of the classification with them. And that's been their nemesis. Buford has been. Buford's another problem.
I understand.
But,
So
normally, what's going to happen is 4 regions in South Georgia, they will play each other at playoff times, and this is our thinking, and this is the way we hope it happens. At playoff times, we will subdivide, have an upper and lower tier, therefore we'll have 8 regions, might as well call it, in the South, and the same in the North. Now, there's probably going to be a push to, we have 4 playoff teams in each tier. They probably want to cut that down to 2 playoff teams, and up from the upper tier, 2 from the lower tier, which suits me.
So in other words,
Fine.
in our region, we would only have 2 teams that would qualify for the playoffs.
We would have 4 teams out of this region, but you're going to have some big schools and you're going to have some little schools, smaller schools. 2 of the bigger schools, 2 of the smaller schools. The top in each tier.
So do you see any?
I can tell you who the schools are. The upper schools right now, and ours as it stands is going to be Randolph if they don't move out, Mitchell, Terrell, and Seminole.
Would be on the lower tier or the
We're
higher?
on upper tier.
Upper tier.
And
so the lower tier is going to be like Stewart.
You'd have Stewart, Pelham's in that upper tier also. There's 5 of us. And the lower tier is Baconton, Miller County, Stewart, Calhoun.
I got you.
There's 4 of those. Let's say we play a region schedule, and then you go head-to-heads on those guys in that upper tier, we would. So if we prevail over, let's say we went out in that, Mitchell loses to us, we're 1, Mitchell's 2. Terrell would be out of it. Then you go to the lower tier, Miller County, and so they beat everybody else in that region, and Pelham came up number 2 in that half, when head-to-head.
Right.
Then you'd have Miller as the number 1 in the lower tier, and
okay, I'm still confused.
It's not as confusing as it.
Is that something that may start next year?
It would start in 2012.
2012.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the game against the Wesleyan. We'll stay tuned, everybody. You're watching the Coach Ingram Show on the Cool Channel, WMGR. All right, welcome back, everybody. You're watching the Coach Ingram Show on the Cool Channel, WMGR. Roger Cunningham, Coach Ingram, and Coach, what a wild, wild, wild game this past Friday night. Back and forth and back and forth. Final score was 43-40 Wesleyan. We go out, you get the opening kickoff. They win the toss, defer. We get the opening kickoff and keep that time of possession for 11 minutes and like 20 seconds of the first quarter.
51 seconds left in the first quarter.
Something like that. And we had one little hiccup where one of the running backs fumbled, but But when they started running back, Chris Brown came up and popped that ball loose from him, and we got it right back. So we ended up keeping the drive alive, and we went down and scored 7-0. All right, we kick off, boom, they run one pass play and they score a touchdown. And then we come back, they get the ball again. Barron intercepts a pass, runs it back for a touchdown. It's 14-7. And then in the second quarter, like you said, we just kind of started dropping like flies. Had players going out because of the heat and the humidity and cramping, and one player even they took him to the ambulance to get him worked on, and everything ended up being, they scored 3 state touchdowns, made it 28-14 at halftime. Talk to us a little bit about the first half.
Well, I got exactly what I asked for all summer and all fall, and that was a hot, muggy night with gnats. That's the first thing. The good Lord was listening. We had
listened a little bit too well.
We had those, and it was stifling hot.
Oh yeah, it was.
Well, we were handicapped. We go into the ball game. We just had a chain of events. Number one, I'd have to go back to early fall practice. When we had the incident, 4 or 5 of them nationwide, but had the thing over at Fitzgerald. The kid, at camp, kid dies. We had one up in Atlanta, Norcross, I think it was, that died, and so then, so hot and so humid, our numbers like they are. Years ago, we would have worked right on through it. I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser, may have taken it, taking it too easy on them in that heat and humidity. But we did not condition. By the time you was going out that, we went out 1 or 2 days, it was 118 heat index. We had to come back in, wait for it to cool down, things like that. But when you go out there in the fall and you practice 2.5 hours in that heat, and during that time we're going in and out. And another thing is we never deny water. We have water there all the time. While we're practicing, and we're checking kids all the time. We feel like they're getting too hot, we come back in for a while and things like that. But anyway, we had all that stuff going on in the fall. We didn't condition. Previously, we went. It cost us at Wilcox 28. But I'm just not going to leave a kid laying out on the field. That was number one. Number two was Javante Smith dislocates an elbow. We're very thin.
Yeah, I saw him with the sling on.
We got the 7 guys, 8 guys that's played with us since freshmen, and we have a very strong senior class. 9, 10 guys. Very small junior class. Even smaller sophomore class, a little bit larger freshman class, 40 kids, 38, 39, 40 kids when we have everything, but we're young and inexperienced underneath those seniors. 16, 17 guys that can play for us. We lose Javante, and drops 1. We lose Jonathan Hudson Tuesday with an ankle. Myron Perry decides somewhere along the line that he needs his wisdom teeth cut out. I don't know anything about it. He gets that done Thursday. Could said that. So he can't dress out. 1 or 2 more little things like that.
Right.
Then we had
one with an incident at school.
We had an incident at school. He's suspended for the ball game. One of our just playing both ways.
Right.
So we wound up. We have 10 guys that has the experience of playing in varsity football games. That's going to play both ways, special teams. The whole thing. Our number 1 snapper, deep snapper, goes out of the ball game. We just really, really handicapped in the thing. Again, then you add that heat and humidity to it Friday night, and we start off strong. First quarter, take the open kickoff. Like I said, no matter how you look at it, 51 seconds left in the first quarter, we're up 7-0. That's where we were at. We knew, I knew it had to be a slow, very slow, deliberate ball game, trying to last. We get the second quarter, and we just run out of gas. Staying on the field with that heat, and we just simply ran out of gas. We were up 14-7, and we miscued and gave them that first touchdown. We come back, we were up 14-7 and stopped them, had the ball back, had a chance to go up 21-7, made a pretty good little drive there. And then we just self-integrate. The 21 points that they got before halftime was not of their making; it was of ours.
Right. Oh yeah.
We just died.
Yeah. Literally,
we go out,
they were literally just falling all over themselves up there.
Absolutely.
And there, I mean, I noticed. Don't mean to cut you off, but I noticed
Well,
at least.
did.
I know. I'm sorry. About halfway through the second quarter, our blockers, they just stood up. They weren't touching anybody. They just would stand up. Bugs would go back to make a pass, and he'd take one step back, and he'd have 5 guys on him.
Yeah, we just didn't feel like we had anybody we could get in the ballgame. We go out at halftime, 28-14. I'm extremely concerned. When you and I had our little talk, I knew I couldn't see how we was going to finish the ballgame. We got in there at halftime. We cooled off. Got some fluids back in us. Had the one kid that was getting IVs that we lost until the fourth quarter. Came back just completely dehydrated. Had another kid that basically hyperventilated in there. It was a linebacker and one of the captains, and so it was just crazy wild thing. We could have easily just fallen completely apart. The kids' credits, they came back good as a family, and we came back out the third quarter.
Scored 3 straight touchdowns. Yeah.
The thing is that we've been there before, and we never go to panic mode. And it's got to be like life. You just can't flip out and go nuts and crazy. But anyway, we just come back out in the third quarter. We got new lap, and we bang, bang, bang. We go up 34 to 28.
To 28, yeah.
28.
And we missed that extra point, and that came back, and that was a big play.
It came back to haunt us, but again, we started running out of gas. Again,
Right.
Second and fourth quarter was the problem. You go back, you give us a little bit of depth. Man, the heat was wearing on them too, but they had so much depth.
Yeah, because I noticed on special teams, you started throwing in some guys that wouldn't
Oh, yeah.
normally play,
We,
just to give your regulars a break.
Coach Savage, Coach Williams put together, kickoff team, and some return stuff, some special teams, to get those guys a break, stop, so they could get a little fluids and whatever, different thing, helped tremendously. Got us back going. We got Andrew back about the time we get back ahead, and then he comes back into the game, and Desmond gets back in, and but the wear and tear got us again. At one point in time, we were playing about 3 guys on the offensive line that I had no idea would ever be in there unless we were wet. At any point in time during this year, no experience whatsoever, and I'm telling you. We just ran the double option. We forgot triple option. We forgot the power game. We forgot the counter stuff and everything. We lined up 2 tight ends, 2 flankers out here. Went to a fullback set with Barron because he's in better shape than anybody else. He's always has been. He's going to run and work and work and work and work. And Antoine, those 2 guys, they're going to be in better shape than anybody else we've got always. They've got great constitutions. I'll put it that way. And so we just ran those 2 guys, inside and just reading the double option. They never could stop us. The problem was, and I'm serious as I can be, when we got into the fourth quarter, we were trying to milk that clock. We were up
34 to
and we.
It was 35 to 34. It was 35 to 34 them. And then,
they came back, scored. It's 35-34, scored on a free whatever, a long play. And that's where most of their stuff was. They didn't wear us down and eat us up.
Well, do you think it would have made any difference at all in that game if we weren't playing a team that ran that spread offense and just ran around like crazy, like they did? I mean, if we were playing another team that is a running team like we are, do you think it would have made things a whole lot different for the conditioning part of it?
Well, here's the thing. The same guys that we have out there chasing those guys 30-40 yards every snap of the ball on their routes is the same guys that should be back there running the ball for us and picking up 30-40. Right. So potentially, like I said, 80 to 140 yard sprints. That heat plus staying on their feet as long as it did. We scored 2 early. We're down 35-34. 7 minutes left in the ball game. We get the ball, and my thing is, we're gonna get 2, 3, 4. We're going to eat up the clock. We're going to score with less than a minute left and kick off to them and see how good they are. But
And you just about did that. I mean, I think it was under
Yeah,
3
I
minutes.
was right.
It was under 3 minutes, and then I think they ran, what was it, 1 or 2 plays, and we had them third. It was like 3rd and 18.
I was a little bit long that, 3rd and 23, 24.
Something like that, and they ran a play, and it was just a little busted coverage. You had some guys
Two
in
things,
there.
I'm telling you, there was 2 ways. We would have run out the clock, or been close to it until Antoine broke the thing, and I wanted to tell him to holler at me. Of course, I couldn't get him, he was on the other side. Tell him to step out of bounds or fall down at the 8 or something, just eat up some more clock. But as it worked out, they came back down ahead of 3rd and 23, 21, 18, whatever it was, and he's got shuffle pass that he has, they can run. He's got the tunnel screen, and he's got deep stuff. With his 3rd, 23, 21, I'm betting he's going deep. So I put one of the linebackers out and go deep. It's a flip of a coin.
Sure.
Just call. He happened to have the exact, checkmate. He had the right call. He had one call. I mean, he had everything else covered. He had, out of his, 40, 50 plays that he runs, he had one call. Basically, we were on man coverage, didn't have any help on it. And that's what he called. Had a tunnel screen, what we call a tunnel screen. And we had 2 or 3 chances to, make tackles on him, and we just didn't get it done, and he goes down and scores. That said, I got to throw stripes in there because I'm going to always throw that in there. I had jumped on one of them's, kind of chewed him out about pushing it back on there. Touchdown that put them ahead 35-34. The ball was hanging up. Chris was playing real well, and the guy pushed him in the back, but I kind of jumped onto him about it. And then when they score, and there's a minute, whatever left, and I turned to him officially, and I said, okay, just make sure that flag stays in that pocket on this series now, because finally we're going to have to throw the ball. And if one of my guys was a push-off, I'd like to see that thing stay in the pocket. Mm-hmm. Well, we just threw a little stand-up, Carolina right over there to Chris, and he broke the thing. We put us in great position to come back, come on back and win the ball game. And we got a block in the back, and he didn't see the whole play. Play was it, Howard comes in, stalk blocks him, gets him blocked to the inside, Chris pops it outside like he should have, and reading the block. And the guy spins after the block was initiated. The cornerback tried to spin off, get off of Howard, and the official throws a flag in the middle of the spin or toward the end of it. And basically, the way I said it, the flag was thrown on me for, chastising him.
Right, sure.
It was a payback type thing. But, ran out of gas. We, again, had a ball, passed on down into the end zone, and receiver just...
He ran out of gas.
He ran out of gas.
He literally ran out of gas. He just didn't fall through the route.
Great, perfect pass.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been a Sammy Busey, Cherokee County pass.
Right.
Type thing if he's got a little bit left. But, our kids, they fought the whole time, getting beat 40, getting beat by 3, scoring 40 points against Westland's no slouch. Should have won the ball game. I've said since I've been here, there's very few games that we should have won that we did not win. There's a lot of games that we could have won, in the past 8 years, and I felt like the scrimmage game at Wilcox we should have won, and the Westland game Friday night we should have won.
Well, again, the heat and everything was just such a big factor, and missing some of the players that you had, and just running out of gas. But the boys just showed tremendous heart throughout the whole thing.
Sure.
And we've got about 30 seconds or so left in the show. Tell us quickly what we can expect to see out of Terrell County Friday night.
Coach Huff, he calls me his daddy.
Yeah.
He and I are great friends, he's a big old teddy bear. He's tough on the football field. But, he's like a brother to me. Real good friends, like I said. Very good disciplinarian, great athletes up there. He's got kind of a young team. He's got some older kids. He's very skilled quarterbacks. Really experienced. His 3rd year starting, and he's got a lot of talent. He's got a big old monster that he moves all over the place trying to get the ball to. A great athlete like one of maybe. Jawan Jones, was up at Miller last year, something like that. Great athlete. Should be probably college ball material. Try to throw it to him, try to get him on handoffs, on reverses, sweeps, things like that. does a tremendous job defensively. We've got Jack Harris, who's been in the business for years. He was at Terrell Academy, won several state championship, went up to Southland, decided he wanted to come back to Dawson home, and basically quit up there at Southland to come home, turn down the head coach, or quit the head coaching job. But two really talented, great coaches up there, and then he's got a pretty good staff. But he would rather beat Seminole County than anybody else. I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm. I can
He'd
tell
rather beat
that.
his daddy than anybody.
Oh, I can tell that.
And so it's going to be a tremendous ball game. Good athletes are always it's a good rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
It's been clean, through the years, and he's not going to put up with anything, less, and we're not either. But so it should be a good game, for fans. Hopefully we go up and play as hard as we can this week, work and try to find a few more guys. We'll get one or two of those guys back. One that was suspended for sure, we got him back. A dude, Javante, he'll be 2 or 3 more weeks minimum. Hopefully, Jonathan Hudson's ankle, he's got that high ankle sprain.
Those are tough to get over.
Devil.
Those
Very
are
tough to get over.
yeah.
But the IB kids should be okay, and maybe no more hyperventilating. And he wanted to win, and things was crumbling around him. He tries to be a leader, the one that was hyperventilating, but it should be a great ball game. It's a region game. We need to win it.
Mm-hmm. Well, absolutely, it's the first
We're
region
going to win
game
the
of the
region.
year.
We need to win.
That's
I'm not going to say we've got to win it, but we need to win.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, good luck this coming Friday night against Terrell County. Let's come on back home with a win. Even this thing up at 1-1, 1-0 in region, set things off. I believe that's exactly where we were after the second week last year. We were 1-1 and 1-0 in the region, so let's start off again like that. Folks, appreciate you tuning in. For Coach Alan Ingram, I'm Roger Cunningham. You've been watching the Coach Ingram Show. Till next time, you're watching the Cool Channel, WMGR. Good night, everybody.